r/AskReddit, what's an actual cause of death so extremely rare that it's hard to believe it's possible? Being hit in the sternum at just the right moment to interfere with the heart's beating. It can't be predicted or avoided with any consistency, and leaves no clinical evidence. If it happens and someone with CPR skills isn't around, the person just dies, without a mark on them. That happened to a lacrosse player in my high school in 2000. Dropped dead right on the field. It ended up changing and creating laws in New York. Edit. Since this comment got a lot of traction, here is the Louis A. Campora Memorial/Lewis Law link website. Drowning in the desert. Guy got caught in a box canyon during a flash flood. The water was quickly reabsorbed into the dry desert soil and left a drowned man in the middle of the desert. In the US, more people die this way in deserts than from exposure. Patricia Stallings was wrongfully convicted of murder after the death of her son Ryan on September 7, 1989. Because testing seemed to indicate an elevated level of ethylene glycol in Ryan's blood, authorities suspected antifreeze poisoning and they arrested Stallings the next day. She was convicted in 1991, in jail had another baby, diagnosed with methylmalonic acidemia, MMA, a rare genetic disorder that can mimic antifreeze poisoning. They both died of an illness that mimics antifreeze poisoning. The second baby was diagnosed in time to receive treatment and survived. Fatal familial insomnia, you can't sleep, and you don't sleep, until you die, and it runs in the family. Also technically a prion disease, just a genetic one. Guy's beard was so long that when he tried to flee a house fire, he tripped over it and broke his neck falling down the stairs. Dude was a mayor too. Hans something or other. In 1988 a dog fell from a building in Buenos Aires, Argentina, landed in a woman's head, killing her and the dog instantaneously. Then another lady, completely confused watching the event unfolding from the middle of a road, was ran over by a bus. Then shortly after that an old man died from a heart attack out of the commotion of seeing both deaths. This happened under a couple of minutes. Source, link. Hans Steininger, mayor of Brno in Austria. They kept his beard. Look and go see it in the local museum. Hans down, one of the worst ways to go. Wikipedia's list of unusual deaths makes for some dark comedy while also making you afraid of everything Final Destination style. Greek philosopher Aeschylus was killed when an eagle dropped a turtle on his head, mistaking his bald pate for a rock. You know how r/AskHistorians say history is full of bullshit written by the winners. This turtle guy, I've always have had the strongest impression this isn't but an ancient meme that got a good hold. As a bald man this is equally hysterical and terrifying. Edit. I once was hit by a massive acorn falling from about 40 feet and thought for sure I'd need stitches. I was fine. I can only imagine a goddamn turtle. Beaver bites. I always think about that guy in Belarus. A 60-year-old fisherman trying to snap a photo of a beaver on a roadside in Belarus is dead after the rodent attacked. The beaver bit an artery in the man's leg, which caused him to bleed to death. The character of the wound was totally shocking. The show, 1000 Ways to Die, covered a lot of the weirdest ones. The one that I remember being like WTF on was a guy who tied a sausage to his thigh, to make it look like he had huge junk. He cut off circulation throughout the night of dancing and died from cardiac arrest in the club bathroom. I don't know, were all of those real? I saw an EP about a guy tripping in the desert who came across a big furry orgy and then got confused and tried to fuck a real animal. Grim Reaper got creative with those deaths. A dingo really did eat that poor woman's baby, but nobody believed her and she went to jail for it. This is sad but true. I'm glad she finally got the justice she deserved. The 10th century Byzantine encyclopedia, the Suda, chronicles a folkloric story of lawgiver Draco's death in the Aeginetan theatre. In a traditional ancient Greek show of approval, his supporters threw so many hats and shirts and cloaks on his head that he suffocated, and was buried in that same theatre. This woman was getting a drink and she had a metal straw in her cup. She slipped and the metal straw punctured her eye and went through her brain. Crazy way to go out. Metal straws are ridiculously dangerous. My uni roommate's mum was a nurse and has seen too many people come into the ER with a metal straw through the throat. People use them, get drunk, slip and fall onto them. Sachi Hidaka and his wife Tomio died from heart attacks during their first attempt to make love. The chance of suffering from a heart attack during sex is incredibly rare. But in the case of Ski Hidaka and his wife, Tomio, the Japanese couple were married for 14 years but were too shy to have sex. Later one night they both got drunk while having plum wine and they decided to finally make love. Link. Is this one of the stories from 1000 Ways to Die? I totally forgot about that show. Extreme edging. Every year a small handful of people still have polio on their death certificates. Post-polio syndrome can develop decades after a person is first exposed to polio, and it's occasionally severe enough to kill someone. It isn't rare, but every year, many people die by putting a pressure washer/journey nozzle in their ass or vagina, and shredding their internal organs. Choice. I heard that a sinkhole formed under some man's bedroom and AMP took him with it. It was so deep that they couldn't find him. Definitely a unique death situation. I remember recently reading about a woman who suffered life-threatening injuries, but luckily didn't die, because of a water slide. The angle she hit the water or the water hit her caused her to basically be power washed inside. New fear unlocked. This is the worst comment here. Like a real pressure washer? God, that must be painful. That one guy who died after getting stuck face first in an extremely claustrophobic cave. They could get to him, but couldn't get him out. Just left his body in the cave and cemented the thing shut. Nutty putty cave. And the guy had a newborn baby and wife at home. Terrible story. They said they would have had to break his legs to get him out backwards. Oxygen poisoning is a thing. Getting too much O2 into your cells can kill you. Good news is that you can't get toxic levels of oxygen by just breathing too hard. 3 people have died in space, so out of the 117 billion people that has ever lived, I would say that's pretty rare, but at the same time it's hard to believe it's not more. Soviet Union stuffing papers in a bin, yet 3 people have died. Prions. Literally a misfolding of a brain protein that makes your entire system go haywire and you die within a year. Also no SCJD, it's a 1 in a million disease. And AMP, #X200B. I know someone who died from it, sadly. My grandmother died from CJD in the 70s. When I first went to donate blood, I was told I couldn't because of the family history. This was when the UK were still recovering from the mad cow disease outbreak. Rules have changed now, but, at the time, they were concerned it was hereditary. That was in Florida, in 2013. Link. Decapitation by an elevator. Stingray tail in the heart. I miss Steve. Dying of a broken heart. Lost my dad to this. My mom died Mother's Day 2020. My dad, who never had health issues, was dead within a year. Just completely lost his will to live. Molar sepsis. A man died where I live from an infected molar. Kinda crazy, right? Many years ago, I was sick for a long time and nobody could figure out why. One day, a pustule appeared on my gum line. Mystery solved. A root canal and 10 days of antibiotics healed me up. I had a painless tooth abscess, at least, painless in my jaw, but it was poisoning me. My dentist told me that in the pre-antibiotic era, dental infections were a very common cause of death, and still are in some lesser developed areas. Wasn't there a Japanese boy pretending to be a snake? His parents thought he was possessed and they killed him. It may be on the weird list of deaths on Wiki, I remember. Death caused by an infection, and that infection was caused by another piece of human lodging inside of you from someone closer to the bomb blast. Drowning in an elevator. A couple in Tel Aviv lived in a building which had an elevator going down to the parking garage. Due to very heavy rainfall, the elevator flooded while they were in it. My mill used to be a surgeon. She told me about a patient they had back in the 90s. He died because of holding in a sneeze. Turns out he had an aneurysm in his brain that popped at that moment. That happened to 7 people on the Costa Concordia. They were in the lift when the power went out, due to the ship hitting rocks, and were stuck inside until the ship sank, drowning them all. Worst way to go. Drowning in a puddle. Almost happened to Tetsushi Yanagita. He broke his neck on a live morning broadcast on Japanese TV diving headfirst into a rice paddock, and his colleagues didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. Broke his neck, survived that, almost drowned in a puddle. The video is a bit harrowing to watch as well. The guy who climbed headfirst into a papier-mâché dinosaur after dropping his phone inside it. I used to frequent this bar all the time. During COVID it shut down. At some point the sign they had over the door fell off and hit someone walking beneath it. This person's only major injuries were crushed fingers that later had to be amputated. She was a concert pianist. Just WTF. Internal decapitation. Head still attached but spinal cord severed below brainstem. This is why I always yell at people for removing the headrests in their cars. There was that guy who got crushed by a giant boulder while he was fucking a chicken. Perhaps there is a God after all. 2 girls I met in my eating disorder support group died in ways people never believed were true. One died of a heart attack while purging due to the electrolyte imbalances caused by binging and purging, and the other died choking on her own vomit while purging. Bulimia, and eating disorders in general, are really disgusting, fucked up illnesses, and not enough people realize that. The guy who ate a slug on a dare and got rat lungworm disease. I work at a hospital and this perfectly healthy 17-year-old boy, who played tons of sports, held in his sneeze while he was stretching and it shattered some of his spine and he is paralyzed. Super sad. Innocent people have gone to jail for murder because the real explanation for why someone died was so rare and infrequent that courts didn't believe those explanations as plausible. 2 cases off the top of my head: Lindy Chamberlain, a dingo actually did eat her baby, and Kathleen Falbig, had 4 children die from a rare genetic mutation. Poor Lindy. Sad face. I think about that and the coffee lady a lot. I know, not related, I just do. Pop culture did them even more dirty. Hello everyone. Thanks for sticking to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to humbly ask you to subscribe to the channel. According to my statistics, 100% of my viewers in the past 28 days are not subscribed. I have always wanted this channel to reach 1000 subscribers, and if you want to support and be a part of that, subscribe. It's free and it's an awesome way to support the channel. Thanks again. Reddit glitch out.